Hello, church. Coming to you today. Well, it's actually Saturday. Is the second attempt recording this. I did a live stream earlier, and the audio. I didn't notice the audio was not working correctly until about an hour later, or a little bit after. So I wanted to re-record this. I do think that this message is very important because this is something that it's really been speaking to me the past couple of weeks, but I wanted to kind of reiterate what I went through. The first part of this live stream earlier, which was talking about how we were trying to get some things hammered out, some technical things, details behind the scenes with this broadcast and how it works. So we're still obviously working on that right now. Trying to get these things working correctly. But we're also streaming on Facebook and YouTube, which it will help as Facebook's policy now is to delete live streams after 30 days, so they don't stick around. They don't stay on the Facebook page unless we were to repost them after we live stream. So instead of reposting those, I think what we're going to do now is say, if you want to see it on Facebook, it's there. But if you want to watch it after the fact, then it'll be on YouTube as well. And the whole reason that why I believe that would probably be the best practice is when you repost a video on Facebook, you don't have the interactions that you have during the live stream. So I believe that, as long as you go to our website, which it's not, when I say website, it's not Facebook or YouTube, it's our actual website, truevinechristianfellowship.com. We will have the videos posted from Facebook and then from YouTube on there as well. I'm going to try to make that less confusing, because I know right now if you go on there, it actually posts the YouTube live streams under sermons, which is a different section altogether. So until I get that worked out, you can always find a video somewhere on our website that links back to our live streams. So we took a little bit of a break, and that was partly to work through some technical difficulties. But I want to step back in by bringing this out on about Exodus. I've been thinking about this particular event that happened in Exodus, and it really reflects, I believe, what our the focus of our worship should be, and how we look at the world, how we identify the different things that we are confronted with in life. So I really want to go over this and bring this back out. Again, this is reiterated because of the earlier live stream. The audio issues made it hard to understand what I was saying, and I feel like there's a lesson to be learned here, and something that's very pertinent to the church of today to be aware of. So I want to go into Exodus. We're going to start in Exodus 14, verses 10. We're going to end up going through 12 here and a little bit further later on. But I want to start in verse 10. And it says, "And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord." Now, if we look at this passage, we notice that the first reaction of the children of Israel is to be afraid. This is a very human reaction. This is a very basically a carnal, a fleshly reaction to see something and see an imposing danger and be afraid and be worried. Now, as Christians, we're told to be not afraid. But notice that the second thing that they did here, after they were afraid and they were fearful, they cried out unto the Lord. So that's what God wants us to do. We're afraid, we're worried, we're anxious about something. He wants us to cry unto Him. Now, when it says cry, it means a completely surrendered heart. He wants us to surrender to Him. So in that instance of that fear gripping us, that's when we need to cry unto the Lord. But if we go, sorry about that. If we go one verse into the future, um, it says, "And they said unto Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us, to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness." Now, here they are. Remember, just before this, directly before this, they're crying out to the Lord. Here in verse 11 is a different story altogether. They're no longer crying to the Lord. They're basically whining or complaining to Moses, blaming Moses for carrying them out of Egypt. Now, there's two ways you can look at this. You see the multitude of Israelites that are just complainers that just want to complain about these things, but really there's a disrespect and a dishonor here that they're doing towards Moses, but Moses was just following what God wanted him to do. So ultimately this is a dishonor and a disrespect to God. These complaints are not just falling on the ears of Moses. These complaints are falling on God's ears. So He has brought them out of Egypt, which is a promise that He was going to bring them out of Egypt. There's a promised land that they're walking to. So He's asking them to come out of Egypt and to go into the promised land. He has a promise for them. So basically, if we look at this and apply it to our lives today, He has called us out of Egypt. Come out of Egypt, O my people. But He has promised us so much more. He's promised us, He's given us a promise. But there's a little bit of a journey we have to go through. There's a coming out of Egypt. There's a journey out of Egypt that we have to go through. So at the first sign of trouble here, the Israelites start complaining. They cry unto the Lord, but before the Lord can answer them, before they can get an answer, they start complaining. They start, they're willing to compromise on everything and go back to Egypt, go back to being a slave, go back to compromising their religious activities. They would rather live in that compromise, that comfortable compromise, than reach for the promise that God has given to them. But oftentimes we can become like the Israelites in this passage. We get comfortable in our surroundings and we don't want to be moved. And God is always trying to move His children, move His church, challenge us to go and do more, or to step out. God will challenge us to step out of our comfort zone. He gives us tasks that we cannot perform in our own ability. And he wants to know what our reaction is going to be. Are you going to step out? Are you going to come out of Egypt? Are you going to leave that comfort zone? Are you going to, would you rather stay there and just be comfortable and compromise? And I think that much of the modern church is full of compromise. I feel like that is probably the Achilles heel of the body. The church body these days is the amount of compromise that we're willing to accept. Now, stepping out of Egypt is hard. There's not an easy way about this. You're denying yourself. You're denying what your flesh and what you think is a comfortable place to be, and you're stepping into uncomfortableness. You're being forced into this area where you're not comfortable. And the enemy, he's hoping that you're just going to give up. He's just hoping that you're just going to, okay, I'll wave the white flag and I'll go back to Egypt. I'll go back to where I'm comfortable, where I know that I have been, and I don't want to change, and I don't want anybody to move me, and I don't want to. I definitely don't want to walk out of Egypt toward this promise. So we go into the next verse here, Exodus 14:13. And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So this is the response. These complaints were hurled and launched at Moses, and he had to respond. When he responded, he gave these three commands in this order: fear ye not, which is do not be afraid, because obviously that's the first reaction they had. They were full of fear. Stand still, which means you don't have to do anything. There's not a battle here for you to will yourself through. So this is so don't be afraid. This is not your battle. And then it says, see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. Now, if you put yourself in this context, and I think that, especially with us, we have hindsight. We have a way to look back and see, okay, well, on the next page, this happens. Here, in this instant, Israel didn't know what was going to happen to them. They were basically, I would say, between a rock and a hard place, but they were between. They were in a corridor of mountains, a mountain range on each side. They had the Red Sea in front of them, and the Egyptian army charging behind them. So they were literally boxed in. They didn't have a way out logistically that they could take or that they could see. So as Moses is saying this, don't be afraid and just stand still. Just wait on the Lord and see the salvation of the Lord. Now, they couldn't see what was about to happen. They didn't know that there was going to be a way made for them to escape this army. And then at the very end, I've got this highlighted: ye shall hold your peace. So, that verse 14, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So what is our job? So these four commands here that are in this group of verses, do not fear, stand still, see the salvation of the Lord, and hold your peace. So there's four commands here that he's telling here to the people of Israel. What is our job here? Notice our job is not to fight the battle. That's not one of these commands. It is to wait on the Lord, do not be afraid, see the salvation, which is a picture of us realizing that God is there, that God is going to fight the battle. He's going to have victory, and our job is to hold our peace. Now, that's something that is very precious. We have to find that peace, and we have to hold on to that peace, because the devil is out to steal that peace, to rob us of that peace. He does not want to be at peace, does not want us to be at peace. So, there's an order being established here. There's an order of events that he's saying, okay, this is what you do with fear, this is what you do, and this is what you see, and this is what you hold on to. I'm sure that we've all been confronted with chaotic events and fear that it produces. We all have the questions of, I'm not really sure how this is going to work out. I don't know how that's going to work out. The what ifs are going to come in like a wave, like a flood. What if this happens? What if that happens? The anxiety pours in. So what do we do in that instance? What do we do? How do we hold that peace? What's the process here? Because we have to hold on to that peace. I want to go to Joshua 1:9. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Now, several months ago. It's been almost about a year ago now. I was doing the study on the names of God, and trying to look into as many names of God as I could, and I could have went on with that, but the one that really stood out to me that I'd not really noticed before, and I'd heard of the names of God, and I'd read through a number of them, and seen them, in the Bible, in the context that they were in the Bible, but I did not understand or know about the name Jehovah Shammah until I researched it, looked it up. The God who is with you. Now, I know that there are names that kind of overlap here and there, and we talked about that, when I was going through the study. You have Emmanuel, which is the God, or my God is with me, or um, I'm not really, I can't really remember. But anyway, it kind of overlaps. But that one I see more of the God who comes and dwells with his people. And so we understand Emmanuel because we hear that a lot during Christmas. We hear that a lot during the holidays. You hear songs of Emmanuel, uh, uh, the God who dwells with us. And but Jehovah Shammah kind of gives more of an experiential. My God walks with me through my trials and through the storms. So I feel like that is the ultimate meaning of that name, the God who is with me wherever I'm at. Uh, he also dwells and abides with me, which is that different term. But uh, but I believe that we have to understand that our God is with us through these storms. It's not our battle, and He's constantly telling us, "Do not be afraid. Don't give in to that fear." Going on, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Now, this is where the focus comes in. At the beginning, I was talking about where our focus needs to be. In in worship, our focus should be on Him, and in our daily walk, in our daily life, our focus should be on Him. That is why He has given us that that spirit of power and of love and of sound mind instead of the spirit of fear, which is a real spirit. It is a demonic spirit that comes in and tries to steal your joy, steal your peace, and disrupt the order of the power and the love and all of these things that are good. So it's a twisting of those things. The Israelites were faced with a real challenge. This was life or death for them, but fear was overtaking the multitude. And I kind of brought this up earlier. It made me think of this fear coming and settling upon the Israelites as they look back and see the army of the Egyptians charging them, following them. Uh, it reminded me of COVID, and that being really the only equivalent of what we can kind of see in our daily lives today, in modernity. That that COVID came in like a flood, settled over the nation, settled over the world like a mist falling or a fog falling, and it really took people, and it really paralyzed a lot of people. And you could see that fear, that spirit of fear, just sweeping over multitudes. And I remember, when the first week of COVID, it really did grip. It really gripped me too, as well, because there was so much stuff coming out about what this virus does, and it's mysterious, but it does this, and we've seen that, and this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and all these things came up and really tried to take over. And I remember one time in particular, driving during work, and I felt like I'm getting one of these symptoms, or some of these symptoms that COVID presents. I feel like I'm getting some of these symptoms, and fear started to come in and take a hold of me, and I started, instead of allowing that fear to come in and set up in my mind, I started singing one of the psalms. I believe it's Psalms 104. I will sing unto the Lord. Uh, uh, He is my meditation. I can't exactly remember how it goes right now, but it really, once I started singing that, by the time that I got to where I was going, my mindset was completely changed, and I had a new focus. My focus was no longer on what if, but it was on, I don't have to walk through that alone. I mean, if if the what ifs happen, and there's nothing that I need to do. I just hold on to that peace and that comfort that is already won for me. So I feel like that's where we need to be walking. When we're confronted with these things, that we're all confronted with things every day. If we're confronted with these things, then we need to try to find that peace and hold on to it. We live in a different time in this country, and I believe that when we look at the Israelites, we really cannot put ourselves in their shoes. We don't understand that type of persecution. We don't understand the persecution that's going on in the Middle East and all these different places. We live in it's an anomaly in Christian history. Throughout history, Christians have been persecuted, been hunted down, been tortured, been all this stuff, and we don't have to worry about that in this country. We've been relatively at peace here, so we need to make sure that we are that much more prepared, because we have not been battle tested. The modern Western church talks a big game, but we've not even played a snap when it comes to the practical application of spiritual warfare. We have no idea what persecution is. Our brothers and sisters in the Middle East and North Korea and China, they've faced real persecution up to and including death for God's word. They know how to wield the sword of the Spirit because they are battle tested. They know how to apply that armor. They know how to confront the demonic spirits. They know how to get in front of the things that will overtake us, because we're just not paying attention. They are spiritually aware, they're spiritually discernible, and they understand where their focus needs to be in daily life. They walk in that daily. Now I want to go through a psalm here, and this is a very familiar psalm to everybody. And I've got this up here in the Amplified because I really want to show what these it kind of feeds in. And if you got this memorized in the King James, you kind of have to take a double take here, because there's a lot more that's kind of added just by putting some of these words in here that kind of give a little bit more gravity to what's being said. So starting in Psalm 23, verse 1, "The Lord is my shepherd, to feed, to guide, and to shield me, I shall not want. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still and quiet waters. He refreshes and restores my soul, life. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the sunless valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod to protect and your staff to guide, they comfort and console me." Now I want to break there for a second, and and I mentioned this earlier, and a lot of these psalms and different parts they're very poetic. So you may have something that reiterates itself. So when I saw this for years in the King James, when it talks about the rod and the staff, I just thought, okay, well, it's just saying the same thing twice. But when I heard someone do a study on this in the Amplified, and it brings out that the rod was there to protect and the staff to guide, so the rod and the staff have two different capacities here. The rod is to protect, the staff is to guide. He is to protect and guide, so he's a protector and one who guides. And it says, "They comfort and console me." So there is not only is there a presence of peace here that he wants us to walk in, but he is going to be there to comfort us and console us in these valleys, in whatever valley that you end up walking through. He's going to be there to comfort and console. And he refreshes our soul. He refreshes and restores life. Going on, verse 5, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed and refreshed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy and unfailing love shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell forever throughout all my days in the house and in the presence of the Lord. Now, I heard somebody do a study on this, on verse 5 here. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. And they were like, what does that really mean? What is that saying? And it's just, preparing a place to feast in the presence of the enemies. And they said, well, normally you're not comfortable enough to eat if you're in the presence of your enemies. But here he's showing that you have no fear. There is no fear here. He is with you, so you have no fear, and he's preparing a table before you. So, and of course, it says, you have anointed and refreshed my head with oil, and my cup overflows, meaning that there is no limit here. There is no limit to what he has given us. So, you know, I have to ask this every day of myself, so I'm going to ask this question too. How is your mindset today? And are you at peace? If your answer is no, why not? Why aren't you at peace? Peace is one of those things that you have to take hold of. It's not something that falls on you. It is available to you, but you have to grab it and you have to take hold of it and you have to maintain it. So it sounds very much like name it and claim it or whatever, but the difference is here. This is acknowledging that there is a spiritual battle going on, and this is what God has commanded us to do, is to claim and receive and to hold on to that peace. He's got the battle. He has got the victory won. He is the one working all that. But our job is to hold on to that peace. It's not about making up peace in our own will or our own way. We're holding on to that peace that He has delivered unto us through that victory. So the armor that I've talked about, that I mentioned in the past, and we've got to be sure that we're applying that armor. We have to have each part of that armor. I talked about the sword of the Spirit earlier, and those who are in real persecution know how to wield that sword. We have to know how to wield that sword. Again, we're not battle tested, and I feel like that's a big part of the failings of the church, is we're not battle tested. We have not been made to step out of our comfort zone, and we've not been presented with the spiritual battles that in such a obvious way. So, at least not in the way that most of the world and most of Christian history has had to battle with. So we need to be sure that we're applying that armor, and when we are confronted with the enemy and his wiles, that he and his fiery darts, that we are able to withstand. And that really is, it really does cause you to look at the way that you walk a completely different way. Now, earlier I'd mentioned about the 100%. There's a 100% surrender that has to take place. There has to be a complete surrender. It has to be a complete giving up of what your will is, and understanding that you need to allow God to come in and work through you. Now, there's the 100% leaves no room for anything else. It means that you can't be 99% or 99.9%. There has to be 100%, a full surrender. I shared this earlier too, talking about the Japanese cultural idea of being on time. And I heard someone talking about this the other day, and I thought, there's a biblical principle to this as well. And in Japan, apparently, if you are on time, it is seen as an offensive thing, because if you're on time, it means that you did not leave any room for error. You didn't. If you get there right on the dot on the minute, you didn't leave any room for anything that could go wrong. So it's seen as an offensive thing. It means that you're not trusted with systems that could fail or systems that could have unplanned things happen. So I feel like with the church today in America especially, we're very much, we can be on time all the time. We're there when the church doors are open at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. Um, but then as soon as that clock hits 12 or as soon as it hits 7 or whatever the case is, we expect to go. We expect to be released. We expect to go to the next thing. Um, and with what I'm talking about tonight, we can't. Our mindset cannot be that. We cannot just all right, I put in my hour, I put in my 2 hours, or I put in, every time the church doors are open, I'm there, but I'm also the first one out, or I'm, the church serves a great purpose, the physical church, for fellowship and that watering that we get from the word, from the pastor or whatever, from the congregation, that remembrance and that body, that just the overall fellowship and the worship, it serves a great purpose, but we can't let it stop there, is what I'm saying. We have to walk through this daily. We have to be willing to give more than just the hour or two on a Sunday morning or whatever. We have to live, breathe, and awake in this realization that we need the armor of God every day. So going on to Romans 12, verse 1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And I want to stop there for a second because this is a very popular verse. Again, we hear this a lot. It talks about you presenting your bodies as a living sacrifice. That's another 100% thing. There's no room for, okay, well, a living sacrifice 80%, or 70% or whatever. This is a holy, acceptable unto God sacrifice. So if it's acceptable to God, it means that it's 100%. It's a completely surrendered vessel. And then we go on to this little part at the end of this verse. It says, which is your reasonable service. Now, I've made this comment in the past. Our language kind of is shifting. Our English language is shifting. So the word hope that we have in the English language, it is shifted from the hope with assurance hope that is spoken about in the Bible, that we have that hope, and it is something that's a done deal. And it's shifted to a flimsy hope. Like, I hope that it's warm tomorrow, which means it may not be, but we can always have hope, right? It's a very flimsy term now, which is unfortunate. But this reasonable term here, it's talking about your reasonable service. That word reasonable is not a reasonable like, well, it's it's reasonable, it's acceptable, it's okay. Reasonable here is the term that it uses here is there's an expectation here, like it's, so you could read this, which is your expected service. So this is what is expected as a Christian, being a living sacrifice, which is a completely surrendered vessel. So when we talk about going to church on a Sunday morning, and we talk about being a living sacrifice, it goes past the church doors. It goes past the 2-hour service on a Sunday morning, or the hour service on a Sunday night, Wednesday afternoon, evening, whatever. This goes past that. This is an expected thing. We're expected to be a living sacrifice, expected to be holy, acceptable unto God. And then we go to verse 2 here, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So here we have the preparation and the expectation. So preparation in verse 1 is pouring out all that thing, all the things that are of yourself, being a completely 100% sacrificed surrendered vessel. And then verse 2 is, okay, but this is the expectation of what you're going to be. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So, preparation, expectation. All right, going into our last verse here, Romans 8:11. But if the spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Christ from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his spirit that dwelleth in you. So that's a promise. That's a promise that if you are a born again Christian, you are his child, a child of God, you have that resurrection power that raised Jesus from the dead, also quickening your mortal body, which means doing a work inside of you. This is what it means for Christ to dwell within you, to abide with you. That power that had raised him from the dead is also quickening you. I'm not saying that we're all gods by any means. I'm saying that the same power that resurrected Christ from the dead is also doing a work in you. And I feel like the church misses that. I feel like that we just, as long as we do the routines and do all the things that need to be done and that we've done for several years, I feel like most of us think, okay, well, that's all we have to do, and just that mindset is wrong. It's incorrect. All we have to do. He wants a completely surrendered vessel that wants to do what his will is. So he expects that. That's an expected service. So I feel like that the modern church looks for the comfort, seeks the easy road, seeks the comfortable spot. And we don't want to be pushed. I mean, people don't like to be pushed out of the comfort zone. I remember when I was in high school, any kind of public speaking event, any kind of thing that had me get up in front of a classroom, literally terrified me. So I know what that feeling is like. I know what that feeling of fear is like, to be pushed out of your comfort zone. God is going to push you out of your comfort zone so He can work through you. And I feel like that's been so impressed on me the last couple of weeks, is seeing our lackings and seeing so many people in our modern day that will just cling to compromise. They would rather compromise. They'd rather go back to Egypt than be pushed into an uncomfortable area, or be pushed out to step out somewhere. So, and that's where the promise is. We have to step out for the promise, right? We have to be willing to step out to realize that promise. So, that's kind of where I want to end tonight. I had, like I said, I'm re-recording this because of the sound issues on the live stream. I'm going to push this out to both YouTube and Facebook so that this message will go forth. But I also want to remind you, if you go to truevinechristianfellowship.com, you can find the videos there. There's videos, and if you go to the Facebook live streams, you'll see a lot of gaps, and that's because last year Facebook's policy changed. It wiped out a lot of the live streams, actually all the live streams, and the ones that stayed were the actual videos that were pre-recorded at certain times of the year. So we're still working on getting that in a better layout. We're still working on trying to make sure that makes sense for everybody, and I will try to add actual Facebook and YouTube links for our channel, because I know it is hard when you go to YouTube to search out a certain channel. There's so many different churches with the same name. If you go to YouTube and you type in True Vine Christian Fellowship, it'll bring up a couple of them, and you can probably recognize the logo that we use down here. The little it's got the cross with the hill under it. So if you see that, that you'll be in the right place. But I'm going to try to make direct links from TrueVineChristianFellowship.com so that everybody can kind of direct people to that site and kind of break off from there. Facebook page is still be there, but after 30 days, these live streams will probably go away. There's nothing we can do to stop that. So if you want to see something that's more than 30 days old, you'll have to go to YouTube to see that. So that's the way we're going to kind of keep that going now. And I think that there might be a little bit of format change coming up on these live streams. So we're going to introduce some new things here. Of course, the recording dates for the live streams. Just kind of keep an eye. I usually try to start a live stream a few minutes early so people can kind of see what started up. But normally we do it on Thursday, but sometimes there will be some times we have to kind of fluctuate to Saturday or Sunday evening or Friday night or whatever in case things come up. So I think next week, I think we may have a guest on. I think that was brought up to me earlier that we may have a guest on. So we'll have a guest on with Brother Richard, possibly if that goes through. So a little bit of different things, that, and it's always a good thing to kind of expand and to get more people involved. So we'll just see how everything works, and hopefully the sound works tonight on this re-recording of this. I know that earlier that sound, it was hard to listen to, and I started listening back to it just to make sure the sound was okay, and I could not hardly understand myself. So hopefully this works better. Like I said, we're still trying to get the bugs worked out, and I appreciate you being patient with us. So I just ask that you would pray for blessings for this broadcast, that you would share it, like it, interact with it some way on Facebook. That will also help with the reach of this broadcast. And I just ask for your prayers that we'll be able to work these little details out and fine tune what needs to be tuned up. So until next week, I just pray that you have a blessed week.